So most of the people right now are actually starting to question their privacy and the data breaches on the internet. This is one of the major reasons why most people right now are actually shifting towards privacy coins or privacy cryptocurrencies. I think that this might be the first time we actually will be able to, witness cryptocurrencies genuinely being utilized in the present as well as in the future. If we talk about Bitcoin, this is something which we are basically betting on for the last 18 years or so, and right now it's only at $91,000 and 1.8 trillion in market cap. Even after ETFs, even after government supporting it, even after taxations, even after all of this bullshit, still Bitcoin is only at $91,000. It topped at like 125k or something like that. And if we compare it with the whole devaluation and all, right now it's probably at like 60-70 thousand dollars in terms of 2020 money. Anyways, talking about cryptocurrencies and privacy overall, most people are actually starting to question a lot about their privacy, and most importantly they are starting to question a lot about the governments actually putting taxations on crypto now that crypto is starting to being recognized. It is starting to leave a shadow or a mark on the world, and it is actually starting to being utilized in a way. Right now these governments are actually trying to take their own part in this system by applying taxes for absolutely no reason. Right, people got into crypto because they never needed taxes. People got into crypto because they wanted true anonymity. People got into crypto because they wanted true freedom and actual financial freedom. And by the meaning of financial freedom, I don't mean that you have made like millions of dollars or billions of dollars via doing crypto trading or whatever you're doing, like e-com or whatever. Right, true financial freedom means that you don't have, like, you basically have the ability to afford violence. You have the capability to afford violence now. Right, and nobody can surveil you, nobody can breach your freedom, nobody can breach your anonymity if you want to keep anonymous persona online or offline. Now I'm talking about online or offline a lot because nowadays most of the millions that are millionaires that are being made, they are being made because of being in the world of bits, because of being on computers, because of actually doing something with AI or e-com or cryptocurrencies. Right, so if they wanted to keep their persona online anonymous or offline to be completely anonymous, offline it will always be anonymous. If you're not trying to be famous, you will basically be anonymous. Be like Daft Punk. Right, they wear masks and then they come out stage. Why? Because they actually wanted to tell a story without revealing the name of the author. Whenever you read a book, you never really, you know focus on who the author of that book was until the book is finished and the story is so good that now you have to see more of the books from that same author. Right, so it is more about telling the story and less about revealing yourself. And most people who are revealing themselves on different platforms like Instagram, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, right, they're doing a very wrong thing. Especially in the age of AI, you'll probably see robots in the future that will look just like you, same like you. They will talk like you, they will speak like you, they will have the same habits like you. And the funny thing is that with the help of neural networks, these robots will actually, start to even have the same creativity as you. That is very possible, but again, those are just future. Anyways, even influential figures like Andrew Tate are actually starting to promote what zero knowledge proofs are, but I don't think that zero knowledge proof, especially the kind of zero knowledge proof that is implemented in Zcash, actually has a very real world utility, or actually has something that can be utilized in the real world in the present or either in the future. I think that this is something which is overvalued, overhyped for absolutely no reason. And one of the reasons why, you saw this coin from going from like $100, like, well, I personally saw this coin from, going to, I think, $70 to almost like $600 or so. Right, and I hold this coin. Why? Because I consider it as a meme coin. It has big investors at its backing, like Naval Ravikant. It had Sergey Brin talking about it. Right, and most importantly, it has Electric Coin Company on the back end who developed Zashi wallet and Zcash system, and who implemented zero knowledge proofs on the Zcash blockchain. But one thing you need to know about Zcash is that it is not the first time that it is being overvalued or overhyped for absolutely no reason. As you can see, its price, let's just open its market cap. These kind of things have already happened in the past as well. As you can see, it went to went to like $3.5 billion, and then it dumped to 596. It happened in the past where it went to like $1.43 billion in 2018 when Bitcoin was like few thousands, right? So again, this type of stuff has always happened with Zcash. Why? Because it is backed by big people, it is backed by the biggest investors, it is backed by a very well reputed company, I would say, in the whole financial world. But I don't think that it should be very well reputed. Now, most people don't really understand what Zcash is. They just understand what zero knowledge proofs are, but they have to understand what an untrusted setup is. So untrusted setup is a setup where the receiver, well, I don't know why I wrote receiver first, where the sender and receiver don't have to trust anybody. They don't have to trust where the sender don't have to trust the receiver, and where the receiver don't have to trust the sender. So which means that the sender can actually, send like $10 to the receiver or to the verifier in case of ZKPs or zero knowledge proofs. And I don't know why I'm stuttering. So if you send $10 to the verifier or to the receiver, either the receiver has to trust the sender, or the sender has to basically trust the receiver that none of them will deceive this shielded transaction. So on the Zcash ecosystem, there are actually two kinds of transactions that took place. One is called the T and the other is called the S. The S is actually the thing that makes it a privacy coin, because these are the shielded transactions. These are the transactions in which your account address, in which your transaction ID, in which the amount you sent is not revealed. Whereas in the transparent ecosystem, everything is basically revealed. It just acts like it just acts like Bitcoin, or maybe better than Bitcoin, better UI or better UX than Bitcoin, you may say, right? Anyways, we won't talk about transparent, because this is not something which is new, or not something which is the USP behind the Zcash. Actual USP is actually these shielded transactions. Now ZKPs inside of Zcash have gotten many updates in the last few years. Since it launched, it got like a lot of updates. I won't name any, but you can search on ChatGPT, or even you can watch few of these videos where they actually named these updates. And Zcash actually went from a complete trusted setup, which means a trusted setup cannot really be trusted when in terms of you transacting via your hard-earned money, or you doing normal everyday transactions, and you want to be completely private, completely anonymous, completely safe, not being under any surveillance and all. Trusted setups can't be trusted, because now you have to be aware that either the receiver won't reveal anything about the protocol, or either the sender won't reveal anything about the protocol. Because if anybody would reveal anything about the whole protocol that took place, then that shielded transaction will actually convert into more like a transparent transaction in a way, because now your activity logs, now your transaction ID, now your account address, the money you transacted, everything will be revealed. So it is just like game theory, that you have to believe that the receiver will not deceive you, or you have to either believe that the sender will not deceive you, right? So that's why you can't really trusted setup in terms of cryptocurrencies, right? But if we talk about untrusted setups, because now that is something which which is being implemented in Zcash, it now uses a Halo 2 system, where this whole thing is actually untrusted within the shielded pool, right? But again, that's still an illusion. That's still a freaking illusion. Don't get illuded in it. I don't know if even if it's that word, but again, inside of these shielded transactions, uh, like you don't have to trust the receiver, you don't have to trust the sender, you don't have to trust anybody. But again, this is a centralized system. See, so if you were under surveillance, if you were to reveal anything about the financial transactions that took place, like if you, let's say, if governments just break down into your house and just file a tax evasion lawsuit on you, and now you have to prove that you didn't tax evade, you can have full access to this. You can have full access to your activity logs, you can have full access to your transaction IDs, to the amount of money you transacted and all, very easily. Which means that the privacy is sort of optional. You're telling me that Zcash, which is being marketed as a privacy coin, has optional privacy? That is the first time I'm actually seeing a USP being optional. That is pretty weird, right? But now, one thing that most people don't get is that Zcash is actually a quantum resistant coin, which means that quantum computers won't do any much damage to Zcash. That is still something which most people can't really confirm, but again, that is something which you have to sort of believe on right now. But now the major reasons why Zcash is actually being shilled or promoted right now a lot is actually because there are huge investors on the back end of it. There are people who have already proved themselves, who are billionaires. They are talking about zero knowledge proofs and how Zcash is implementing zero knowledge proofs and this untrusted setup. But again, as I'm talking about it, this untrusted setup is a complete illusion, because your activity logs, your transaction IDs, the amount of money that you transacted via a sender to a receiver, to a prover, to a verifier, basically, that can be revealed very easily. There are huge leaks in the system. Whereas if we talk about Monero uses a ring city mechanism in which basically uh, in which basically all of your transactions are sort of a shadow. Nobody can, even if you wanted to reveal to anyone that you transacted this amount of money to anybody, you can't reveal that. That's why Monero is being used by criminals. That is why Monero is the most used cryptocurrency on the dark web. Why? Because it provides genuine privacy. Again, it is used by criminals because it provides genuine privacy. Most people actually think of it as a bad thing. Of course, if something is gonna provide a huge amount of advantage, there will be few disadvantages with it as well, like AI for example, or like ecom for an example, or like anything. It provides a huge advantage, so that's why there are a few disadvantages. That it provides so much privacy that even IRS, even FBI actually offered people to build such tools to break into Monero. They offered like $650,000, but nobody could actually develop those tools to break into Monero's system. It is so easy to use if you just have just if you just need if you can just invest like 10 minutes into understanding Monero. This is the most easy to use private cryptocurrency in existence. Now, one thing, actually two things that are actually bad with Monero right now. First is that it is not quantum resistant, but again, any update can come in a while and we will have a quantum resistant Monero. And second is that this actually survived a recent attack, which actually took like $75 million per day to resist, which they didn't. Again, it was an attack by Cubic, which is a AI mining company which used multiple computer to actually took control over the 51% of the network of Monero. But again, they couldn't resist that control, and also there was no counter attack from Monero side, and new updates were rolled out which made that thing almost impossible, right? Now these are the only two things. I believe that if you want to invest into a cryptocurrency which is genuinely private, then Monero is the only option. Now, if we want to understand zero knowledge proofs in a cryptographic term, because zero knowledge proofs do have a very huge implementation or very huge utilization in the future. This is basically a cryptographic protocol in which the one party, the prover, can prove to another party, the verifier, that the given statement is completely true. It is not false, it is completely true, without revealing any of the solution or without revealing any of the knowledge or the secret or the information. That is how this zero knowledge proofs are actually so revolutionary, and now it is actually the first time when zero knowledge proofs can genuinely be utilized in AIs, in digital IDs, in maybe, I think, in maybe the centralized digital currencies which will roll out. Zero knowledge proofs can genuinely be utilized to maintain the user's privacy, but still to have a centralized control over the user. Governments are actually gonna use zero knowledge proofs into these digital ID programs, because of course it will protect the user. It will still give the government access to the user, and again, which means that it can be a good thing to maintain the safety of the user. But I don't think that zero knowledge proofs do have a huge implementation in the cryptographic into sorry, into the blockchain or cryptocurrency world as a financial asset or as a financial system, right? You can implement it in AI, you can implement it in digital IDs, you can implement it in anything which allows the user to maintain privacy or to have an anonymous persona. by still giving a centralized control to the governments. But if you want to be completely anonymous or completely private about the things you're doing on the internet, or about the financial transactions that are taking place on the internet, then Monero is generally the only option. That's why I've invested a lot into Monero. I genuinely think that this coin will soon reach a price of $30,000 per coin. But again, that is completely dependent on events. Who knows that the next day you will see another Israel Iran fight? Who knows, right? So I still believe that Monero shouldn't really be taken as a financial asset. It should be taken as a financial system. Because now we know that if things are taken as a financial asset, the return is very bad. The return is extremely bad. Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Solana, these things are being taken as a financial asset. Well, not Solana, but most of these coins are being taken as a financial asset. And that's why they are losing huge amount of their valuation in a very short amount of time. Why Bitcoin has dropped from 125k to like 90k and Monero is just going up? Or why Zcash is just going up? Because they are focusing on something which is which is in demand, which is being utilized in the present, in not only the present but also in the future. That is one of the most important thing, that you have to look into something before investing. And that's why I don't really take Monero as just a financial asset. I use Monero to transact sometimes as well, not daily, because of course who's gonna use Monero daily? I'm not on dark web, right? So yes, these are a few of the things. And anyways, I hope that you all like this video. And as I said, that I don't hate zero knowledge proofs. Zero knowledge proofs are the most revolutionary thing that we will see in 2026. I think it will be implemented in digital IDs, CBDCs, AI, and all of these things, which will allow the user to basically completely keep an online anonymous persona by still giving an access to the government, a centralized access to the government, so they can't do anything which is illegal, right? Whereas if you're using Monero, you are completely private. That is the funny thing, right? Anyways, I hope that you guys have actually enjoyed this video, and make sure to like, subscribe, and leave out a comment if you if you have actually made till the end of this video, made till the end of this boring video. But I'm pretty sure that this video is very knowledgeable. It is more like a podcast, I would say, right? Anyways, do let me know in the comments below if you did made till the end of this video. Thank you.